Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Communities Live here on Sheffield Live 93.2 FM. Now we have something very special here today. We've got super group Lina and the Lions from Sheffield. Good afternoon, Lina.
Good afternoon, Chris.
So, for our listeners at home, who hasn't heard of Lina and the Lions, give us a bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. So, me and Lee, who's the guitarist and producer, we met in a pub in Sheffield when we were teenagers, and we wanted to start a band. We kind of did it a little bit, and then we moved to London, studied music. When we got back, we did a lot of different things, and then in 2018, we decided we're going to start the band. We made an album, and it was like our first one. It was Baby Steps, and you were the first person to host it. I don't know if you remember. It was One Small Step back in, I think it was 2018. And then lockdown happened and we didn't get to do much with that album. So then we did our new album, Second Nature, which we've promoted for quite a little while now. And we play, our style of music is very 80s, 90s influenced, and it's very euphoric, very hopeful, very positive. The songs are about growth and love and moving forward in life, and it's a very kind of positive, euphoric vibe. So that's who we are.
Now, you mentioned a couple of influences like the 80s and the 90s. Who are your main influences? I've listened to quite a few of your songs. I listened to the whole album actually, and I've got to say there's some Cyndi Lauper vibes
Yeah, I love Cyndi Lauper. She's someone that I listened to as a kid because I watched the Goonies and she was on the soundtrack. And I didn't kind of really know who she was until I'd grown up. And I was like, this, I remember the singer and she's amazing and she's a total badass. And then I looked more into her because obviously people know her as the lady that sang Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And they see her as this simple pop artist, and she's actually a phenomenal singer, an incredible artist. She's written so many songs. She's a punk at heart, and yeah, she's definitely one of my, well, she is my biggest female influence, really, in terms of music. Absolutely.
there. We mentioned a few influences like Cyndi Lauper, but in the near future, if you could work with anybody, in the industry, new or old, if there was anybody that you could work with, who would it be and why?
It'll be a band called Switchfoot from San Diego. Main reason is they're the band I feel like I've grown up with, and I've been on their journey since their first album. They were around in the 90s and the noughties. I got to know them in the noughties, really, and I've grown up with them, and they're still going. Why? Because they just seem like the nicest people to work with. I hope I'm right, but I think I'm right. They're really positive. They look like a band of brothers, and they're really fun. And I can imagine working with them being a really amazing and a pleasure. And what they stand for is great. I mean, the whole vibe is hope is the anthem, and I really like that. And every time I listen to them, I feel better. So no matter what I'm going through, I feel great, and I'd love to be a part of that.
I've got to ask. You've done your second album, and it's called. And I've got a copy right here, so everybody
Yeah,
that wants to listen to it. It's called Second Nature, and this
you've
is the
got
deluxe version.
the deluxe edition.
And for anybody that wants to get a copy, is it still available?
Yes, actually, we've completely sold out of the deluxe edition at the moment. So we were hoping to restock soon, but the album itself, Second Nature, is available to buy on CD, vinyl, and cassette from our online store at www.linaandthelions.com. And yeah, you can get it there.
And for our listeners at home who want to break into this kind of music industry, tell us about how the album came together. Was it quite a long process? Was it quite quickly?
It was a strange process because we wrote it, well, some of the songs were written beforehand, but we made the album during lockdown. So it's hard to compare it to any other process because the world stopped. So
Yes,
we
sure.
were, so in terms of time, we had all the time in the world.
Yeah.
I suppose the only thing that that was a struggle was the motivation, because obviously with it being tough times, sometimes you just didn't know whether, we're making an album, but we didn't know whether we're ever going to tour it, because we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know how to promote it. In a way, we had to do it all online because you can't gig,
Sure.
so it was, in that way it was difficult, but in terms of making the music, it was easier than ever, because again, we had all the time and we could focus completely on making the album.
Do you feel, I mean, say we had COVID and a lot has changed during COVID times. Do you feel like the music industry has changed during those times?
um I think it has. I think people start to appreciate live music more in some ways. Started to think, wow, they've missed it. They really,
Sure.
really missed it. And you don't miss something until it's gone, I suppose. I mean, a lot have appreciated it all along, but I suppose a lot of people grown to appreciate it even more. And for artists, I think they were challenged with, how do I do this? So a lot of people started to think outside the box and think, how can I promote my music? How do I make this happen? And kudos to a lot of musicians that they did it. They did it throughout the period and learn to adapt. So I think it has changed. I think as well, people started to realize they can have their own tastes in music and find new artists on platforms such as TikTok or Bandcamp and things like that. People had time to kind of sift through and find their favorite artists. So that's my opinion, though. Somebody else might tell you something different.
Now, as a band, you've been touring around the country. I mean, I've seen your performances on online with San Diego, with like not San Diego, sorry, with
Maybe one day.
Comic Cons,
Hmm.
and I mean, but you've also got a tour, a show in Manchester. So, tell us a bit about that.
Sure. So my whole thing at the minute is like, don't compete, create. I love that idea. And the music industry is saturated, right? And and I just wondered where we fit it, rather than like playing everywhere all at once, play this pub, play this gig, say yes to everything. Because sometimes you can say yes to everything and end up gigging for like 5 years and not play to the people who actually want to hear you or need to hear you. If that makes any sense. And our music is quite specific in that it's got a particular sound and it's got a particular message and a particular vibe. So I sat in the sun last year thinking, what can we be a soundtrack to? Who can we affect and make an impact on? And it just hit me. I love going to Comic Cons, and I've been to a few. I don't know have you been to a few, Chris? Have you been to any Comic
I
Cons?
haven't been to any actually, but I
You'd
always
love
wanted to
it.
go.
You'd love it. So every time I've been, I'm like, there's no music. And I wished there was a band or just something to kind of fill that gap. And it just hit me. I was like, I feel like our music is influenced by retro gaming, 80s, 90s soundtracks, where we love watching Batman, Superman, and we read comics, and a lot of our music is inspired by the stories or the morals that you learn from those stories. So I said to Lee last year, we need to play Comic Cons. It's like, I don't know, no one's doing it, no one's doing that.
Yeah.
So it may be because it doesn't work. And then this year I kind of put my foot down. I said, we've got to do it. We did the first one. It was in Blackpool. A lot of people laughed at us. They're like, you're playing a Comic Con in Blackpool. And I couldn't tell you what it feels like. They're the best gigs ever. It's weird because the lights are on and you can see everyone's faces, but you want the lights to be on because there's Mario, there's Luigi, there's Superman, there's Poison Ivy, there's Sonic, there's blow up Pikachu, and they're all dancing to your music, and it's amazing. So I absolutely love that. So we've been touring the country doing those. The organizers are fantastic. We got to meet celebrities, like the Manchester one. Seth Green was there. Zachary Levy was there.
Oh wow.
So, some of our heroes that we met, like David Yost, who was the Blue Power Ranger in the original '90s series. I got to meet him, and so on top of the amazing thing of being able to perform to people, you get to meet your heroes as well in an environment that's positive and exciting, and it's amazing. So that's the Comic Con thing. And yes, we do have our headline show, our first headline show this year in Manchester Academy. It's on Sunday, the 26th of November, and we just can't wait. And you're coming, aren't you? You're
I'm
invited. You're a
definitely
guest.
coming. I cannot wait to be there. I've got to ask Lena, is there still tickets available for anybody who wants to come to the show?
There are tickets, and we're doing basically a special until a particular date. So you can get your tickets from our website. That we're selling physical tickets from our website for £10 instead of £14, and you get them free delivery. You can get them from the Academy site digitally, but they're £14 there. So you can either get the physicals from us straight to your house, or you can get them from the Academy site, and they're a digital ticket. But there are some tickets available, but hurry up because they are selling fast, and we're going to have a great night.
You know what? I cannot wait. I'm so looking forward to being there.
It's going to be awesome.
I've got to ask you this. I mean, you've just recently recorded a new single as well called Queen of the Night.
Yeah.
So, is that going to be on your new? If I can talk a little bit about that, is that going to be on your new album?
Do you know what, Chris? It's a bit of a strange one, this one, and I don't blame you for not tying it together. But Queen for a Night, we were really cheeky, and we waited till now to release it as a single. But it is actually on Second Nature, so it's
All
not.
right.
So, but yeah, it was one of those that's a bit different to the rest of the album because it's quite a dancey track. But yeah, we were quite cheeky with that. We waited like a little bit. So yeah, we just thought, when's the right time for it? So we thought, you know what, let's hit it with another single. And I did a lyric video for it. But yeah, I'm quite good at that, tricking people.
So, I mean, so now that you mentioned that, it's on the second album, which is called Second Nature. Again, I'll show these to our listeners again.
Thanks, Chris.
But I've got to ask, can you talk a little bit about the third album, or is it all hush hush
Yeah.
at the moment?
No, we can talk a little bit about it. So the third album again is we're moving forward with who we are and the message and everything else. It's an album that's really influenced by growing pains. So we've got a lot of people around us who are teenagers, and we're watching them go through that phase. And it's really inspired me as a writer. So I wrote a lot about what we go through when we're transitioning, I suppose, into adults. But also just as people, you grow as a person all the time. So it's very much about that. In terms of sound, it's got a lot of the Second Nature vibe in it, but we've kind of morphed and grown as well. So I suppose it's hard to describe a sound. We can't wait for you to hear it. And I can give you the album name because
Oh, great! That would be great.
we revealed it yesterday on a podcast for the first time, so I'll share that with you. It's going to be called Of the Third Kind.
Interesting,
Yeah.
very interesting. I cannot wait to hear the third album.
Thank you, Chris.
And I mean, for our listeners at home who want to break into this kind of industry, the music and stuff, I mean, what advice would you give to our listeners?
Really follow your gut and don't compare yourself to anyone else. Don't look at other bands and what they're doing and trying to do what they're doing. Just do what you think is right. So if there's a sound that you hear that you want to go for, do it. Don't try and copy other bands. Don't try and dress like other bands. Don't try and be anybody else. Just do what you do and do it with all your heart and love it and follow your gut. That's my advice.
Thank you for sharing that with me, Lena. And for my listeners at home who want to follow you on social media, do you have like Instagram, Facebook, where people can follow you on?
Yeah, totally. So I think we're on all the socials, but there's a new one every day. So who knows? We're on Instagram. You can find us at Lina and the Lions. We're on TikTok at Lina and the Lions. We're on Facebook at Lina and the Lions. And we're on YouTube at Lina and the Lions. So, and Twitter as well. And just at Lina and the Lions.
Now, I've got a few questions from your audience that I've handpicked, and I'm going to mention a couple of them to you now. So, number one is, what's your favourite food?
Favorite food? Pizza.
Well, who doesn't love pizza? My second question is what's your favourite hobbies?
Favorite hobbies? I love to dance and I love to sketch. That's of course after music. So that's my two favorite things to do.
Question number three is what's your best thing about the band? Favourite thing to do at, sorry, no, what's your best thing about the band? Sorry.
Best thing about the bands. Um, we're all really giving and loving, and we kind of get on really well and share the same motivation at the gig. So we all just want to have a good time and give people the best time, and we get on in that way. We share that, so there's no tension. We're really good friends, and we're happy to be together. I think that's the best thing about the band.
Question number four is favourite thing to do outside of being a rock star?
I love that I'm a rock star. Um, spending time with my family and people that I love.
And my final question here, number five, is where do you see Lina and the Lions going gig-wise after the Comic Cons, as you have supported big country and also small venues, but more cities?
Okay. So at the minute we want to do some more Comic Cons for now because we've found a place where we can be off purpose, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
But we definitely want to play more cities. We're hoping that after the Manchester gig, we're kind of getting a flow and hopefully book some more headline shows around the country, do a UK tour, and we're also itching to go to America and do a US tour. So those are kind of future plans.
And my final question for you is, have you got anything you would like to say to our audience?
Come to our Manchester gig. It's going to be amazing.
Lina, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chris.